So you cannot buy a copy of Girl Trouble in any bookstore. Connie, you do not carry Girl Trouble, I'm assuming?
I don't.
The only existing copies of Girl Trouble are in my hand and in my basement. And there's also this picture of Sherman and his best friend Polly, signed with Sherman's own hoof print. So I'm not saying, look, spend money that you need for groceries, but if you got some disposable income and you want this, you can't buy this. You can only win this. So that's what's going on. So yeah, check your book flaps or get some other one. Maybe just trade the one that you already bought and see if you can get another one. Kind of swap one out for you. Yeah, go for it. So cool, guys. Thank you so much. I wanted to come here from the moment I heard. There's like a wholesale swapping going on. Go for it. I encourage that. That's it. Guys, you can just ask me for a shirt. What are the odds?
I think there was only one.
There's 6 of them over there. There's 6. So however many have been unclaimed, there may still be more out there. You are just undercutting your own sales there, Connie. I like how you both like.
If they're not in here, you're definitely kidding.
I don't know. I like how you guys. I like how you guys feel like you have to follow the rules, even though you're breaking the rules right in front of you. So well done, I guess. Good job. All right, cool. So afterwards, we'll let you take your pick of these fabulous prizes. And if as I'm talking, you suddenly realize, you know what, this guy is not just incredibly sexy, but also might have something really cool to say in his book, and you feel like you need another copy for a family member, you could win again. So cool. I've been hearing about this place, I don't know, Jenna, since I feel like the first time I talked to you, you were telling me about this cool, funky train depot, and the great beers and the music and stuff. And it's like, out in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, we have none of that stuff. Not train stations, not cool, funky places, not cool people, not beers. There's our reminders to turn off our phones. It's a coyote. It's a coyote. Okay. So I really wanted to come here and check this place out. And in the back of my mind, as you're finishing a book and you're envisioning going on the road and going on a book tour, one of the destinations that for me was going to be here. I thought, Boston, New York, Cambridge. This is where I wanted to be. And now I'm here. And it's really cool. And the sun's out and the burgers are ridiculously good. And apparently there's weed in the beer. So it is turning out better than I expected. You can edit that video, right, Wilson? All right.
It's okay.
Okay.
We're from Cambridge.
All right, it's all good, right? And it was really cool reuniting with Jenna again. I'm not even 100% sure how I first connected with you, but I was doing a series for the New York Times about animal-human partnerships. What I wanted to do was hang out with people who didn't just have pets, but had animals that they were genuinely partnering with as equal members of a team. And the reason why I wanted to do that was because I found myself in this weird position a few years ago where I made a crucial mistake. How old is Henry?
He's 11.
11. All right, man. So you were through the danger period. The danger period I found was when a kid is right around 9 years old, they still live in this weird, sparkly fantasy land where they understand that, okay, I can't get a unicorn, or I can't get a Pegasus. They understand what's real in the world, but they also don't understand that necessarily just because it's real, they necessarily can't have it. So I was at an event in Seattle, and I said, are there any 9-year-olds here? Kid raised her hand. Oh, 9-year-old, what's your name? Sid. Sid, what do you want for your birthday? And she says, a breeding age dolphin. Which now looking at you, Jen, I can actually see the wheels turning in your mind. Breeding a dolphin. And I go, why breeding age? And she looks at me like I'm an idiot. Well, yeah, so I can bottle feed the baby. So she wanted a breeding age dolphin so that she could bottle feed its baby. That's how 9-year-olds think. They realize, okay, dolphins are real. Why can't I have one? Once you get to be 11 years old, hey, Henry, what do you want for your birthday?
I'll have a Nintendo 3DS.
I don't know any of those sounds you just made.
Nintendo.
Okay, Nintendo. Okay, even any of that stuff. Okay, I got Nintendo. But there you go. A Nintendo, practical, ridiculously expensive, but better than a 5,000 gallon saltwater tank with a breeding age dolphin in it. So my daughter, when she was 9, I made that mistake, which hopefully you guys will avoid, which is, Sophie, what do you want for your birthday? And the answer was, a donkey. Now that won't surprise, I guess, a lot of you people, because you sort of live out here in, rurally kind of, horsey land. But, we were out of Philly, man. I grew up, on hard tarmac playing street hoops. I'm not country people. My wife grew up in Hawaii on a surfboard on a beach. She's not farm people. And we only even found ourselves in Lancaster on a whim, basically because we couldn't afford a house any closer to the city. So we kept going further and further, and kind of by default, we ended up on this log home surrounded by Amish farms about 17 years ago. But again, we were completely out of our element. This was not native to us at all. And we only started to get comfortable there after a few years. Like when we first got there, one of our first experiences, in the first week we were in this log home, having moved out from Philly, my wife was up on the porch watering some plants, and as she moved to the left, she's holding our 2-year-old daughter in one arm with a watering pot in the other. She moves to the left, and right where she was standing, she hears a thud, and she turns around, and a 6-foot snake had just dropped off the roof of the porch onto the floor. So I'm down the basement unpacking boxes. I hear her screaming like crazy. So I come ripping upstairs, see the snake, and I'm a dude, right? So I know exactly what to do. I scream, what the fuck? And then like an 80-year-old grandmother, actually, Marianne, you probably would have handled it better than I did. I take a broom, and I'm like, to like try to like sweep it away. And of course, the snake says, come on, I'm a 6-foot snake, This is straw and a stick. It just slithers over the broom and goes up the porch beam and disappears back into the house, where my 2-year-old daughter is about to go to bed. So, as usual, I end up walking over the hill to our neighbor's house. Our nearest neighbor is an Amish farmer, A.K. Stoltzfus. When I first got to Lancaster, I didn't really know anything about the Amish. I just kind of assumed there were a bunch of these kind of dour, sour-faced, kind of crypt keeper dudes, with the black clothes and the no zippers and the long beards. But what I found was something kind of a lot different. Instead of being really kind of sour and silent and standoffish, they're really like warm and welcoming. It kind of makes sense when you think about it. Like any culture where people don't entertain themselves with screens, where they don't talk to each other with their thumbs, they actually talk face to face. Like naturally, they're going to be a more welcoming, warm, humane, inviting kind of group. And that's what I found with my neighbor AK. Because the first week we were there, I was banging on his door every day. AK, how's the water pump work? AK, where do we get firewood? AK, there's a giant 6-foot freaking anaconda in my house. How do I get it out? And AK said, well, is it black? Yeah, it was black. Well, that's just a rat snake. You don't have to worry about that. It'll eat your mice. I'm like, we got mice? I think I'd rather have the mice. And he goes, oh, that's okay then. It's not going to eat all the mice. There's like vintage Amish stand-up comedy for you. Like that's like priceless Amish material. So we started to hang out with AK. We started to get comfortable with our Amish neighbors, and bit by bit they started to sort of welcome us as well. We were coming over to their houses for dinner. They were coming to our house to hang out. My wife became good friends with AK's daughter-in-law, Katie Stoltzfus, who milks sheep. That's kind of her thing. And we found out that because my wife was lactose intolerant, but she could digest sheep's milk, so she and Katie would breed and raise sheep together, and then make yogurt and cheeses out of the sheep's milk.
Did she get bottle feed the baby sheep?
Did she bottle feed the baby sheep?
Yeah.
No, sometimes we would eat the baby sheep. It would happen, buddy. That's what happens if there were rams. But no, she would raise the sheep and milk them, and And bit by bit, we started to feel comfortable, so that by the time my daughter turned 9, and I stepped on the rake and got smacked in the face by asking her, what do you want for your birthday? And she goes, a donkey. My first thought was like, dude, you're not getting any donkey. But my second thought was like, okay, why not? We have the land. We're living on 5 open acres. There are hundreds of acres surrounding us. We have no neighbors. We're the only house in that hollow. Donkeys could run wild in every direction. Maybe why not? So I began to ask around. I mean, does anybody have a donkey around here, Jenna? Do you know anybody got a donkey? You got a donkey, Henry?
We got donkey people here.
Yeah.
Who says that donkeys?
Oh, right. I'm gonna have a question for you in a little bit. It's good. It involves the word bean. I'm not sure.
Donkey authors in this town.
Donkey authors.
Yeah.
How's that?
John Katz wrote a book about a donkey.
Is that right?
Yeah.
So I'm not the first to break this ground, huh?
Well, you know, different books.
Okay. All
It's
right.
not wrong, very
Yeah. Okay. Again, this is brand new to me. I never read a donkey book. I didn't know there were donkey books, or for that matter, even like East Coast donkeys. I thought it was kind of like a Himalayan thing. So I began to ask around to my neighbors, like, anybody know anybody who's got a donkey? And one of our neighbors said, yeah, actually, I'm glad you asked, because there's this guy, and he's got a donkey, and it's locked in a stall, and we're trying like crazy to get it out. Maybe you can help. The difficulty was, my neighbor was a Mennonite elder, and there was someone in his church who had become an animal hoarder. He had a bunch of goats and a donkey locked up in a little stall and wouldn't let them out. And the problem with the Mennonites is they're not like guys from Philly who lie like whenever they need something done. These guys actually tell the truth and are honest. So I guess that's why he turned to me in this situation. Like, the tool for the job is a lie, and I guess I was the man for the job. Because we got to tell this guy something that will make him get these animals out of there, because they're in horrible condition. His family actually is starving for money because he's spending more money feeding these animals than he is on his own family. We got to fix the situation. So I'm thinking, great, man, like free donkey, problem solved. It's like a cheap birthday present. So we get in the car, we drive over there to the hoarder's house. And as soon as we get there, we realize this might be a little bit trickier than we thought. The house is really crumbly. It's very Addams Family kind of looking, really decrepit. And then we go behind the house, and then that's when like my stomach starts to sink a little bit. Like, you see that shed, and you're like, oh my God, like whatever's in there, it's not going to be pretty. So we open the door, we walk inside, and this thing is a horror show. It is dark and wet and gloomy and saggy and rotting. And the floor is so full of muck, like just manure and rotten straw, that the goats are standing up on bales of straw, just like to keep themselves out of that quicksand. So I'm looking around, and I'm like, all right, I see the goats. Where's this donkey? And in the back, there was one stall, super narrow, like the size of a closet. And the hoarder goes, oh yeah, he's back there. We go looking back, the guy still don't see a donkey. And then back against the wall was this like dark shape just leaning against the wall. And he's like, there he is. Then he gets a handful of feed, and he goes, come here, Shaggy, come here, Shaggy. And this shape, it's like a giant bag of garbage. It just like turns and just takes a step and just stands there. And it's got these kind of glassy, dead fish eyes, and his head's hanging down. It just looks awful. And I'm looking at this thing thinking, oh my God, like this is not what my daughter had in mind. This is not the cute, frisky donkey that she can like ride to school like she's a little cowgirl, you know. This thing is in horrible shape. And my second thought is, well, we're definitely not leaving here. It's definitely coming with us. So I turned to Wes and said, okay, man, we're good. We're taking this donkey. And then the owner, the hoarder, said, wait a minute, hold on a second. I'm not too sure about that. I want to make sure he's going to a good home. It's like, Wes, dude, we're either taking the donkey or we're calling the police, man. So figure it out by tomorrow, but he ain't staying here. So we leave, and the next day, man, I'm like checking my watch, like, I'm giving you till noon, Wes. You better get that donkey out of there. And lo and behold, by around 11:30, the truck pulls into the driveway, and there's a hay wagon behind it, and on the wagon is this donkey. So what Wes had done was, and I think this is kind of Nobel Peace Prize worthy bit of like Mennonite negotiations. He doesn't want to lie, but he knows that this guy's never willingly going to give up this donkey. So he goes, I'll tell you what we're going to do. Let's just take the donkey over to Chris's, kind of like a spa day, like a vacation. And he'll fix him up and get him healthy, maybe like 2 years, and then we'll see what happens. Which I think is kind of genius. The whole we'll see what happens, you know, it just gets you exactly what you want without necessarily getting over into the world of bullshit. So that's what Wes managed to do. He managed to get this guy to give us the donkey just for 2 years to get healthy and brought it over to our place. But now I got this thing and I'm looking at it and it is even worse than I thought. The hooves had so badly foundered that they had sort of curled up. And this donkey couldn't even walk off of the hay wagon. We had to kind of lift him off. He couldn't walk. And when he got off, he just sort of stood there, like kind of splay-legged. Those eyes were just dead, and it just looked immobile. It just looked like a big stuffed animal just standing there. And I don't know what to do next. So luckily, about a year earlier, we were out hiking on a trail, and we'd seen a woman riding a donkey up the trail. Riding in a saddle up the trail. And I'm sure that's what put the idea in my daughter's mind in the first place. Because she sees this woman and the donkey's kind of kid-sized and it looks gentler than a horse. The rest of us saw it and forgot about it, but my daughter, I'm sure, was thinking like, okay, that could be me. So that woman, as soon as I saw that donkey in the stall, I knew we were going to need help. I went around to the neighbors to say, hey, anybody know who that woman was riding the donkey? And of course, when you live in Lancaster and you're a woman who rides a donkey, everybody knows who you are. So I got her phone number right away, and I called this woman up, Tanya. I said, listen, Tanya, I met you on the trail, remember? Listen, we got this donkey. I don't know if you can help us, but we're really out of our depth here. I really need some help. And she's like, don't worry about it. Donkeys are tough. I've seen it all with donkeys. It'll be fine. And I go, I don't know. This one's in bad shape. She's like, don't worry about it. I'll be there tomorrow. It'll be fine. So then as soon as that donkey showed up at my place, I called Tanya back, and Tanya's here. You got to get over here. She said, well, we're kind of busy today. We'll be there tomorrow. I go, I don't think there's going to be a tomorrow, Tanya. This thing looks really, really bad. So she sends over her husband, Scott. Now, Scott would later turn out to be a bit of a, for Henry's sake, I will say, a D-I-C-K. Exclamation mark. But at this moment, Scott would show that little bit of like gold powder that's in every one of us who's not named Trump. A little bit of goodness, except if you're a Republican. And I don't know what okay, I should get back on topic here. Elizabeth Warren, 2020. He would turn out to be a massive D-I-C-K. But when he showed up at our house, and he looked at those donkeys' hooves. Have I just alienated everybody, Jenna?
No.
Oh, right on. Okay, I'll keep going.
Probably like 16%.
Okay, all right. I got time. I'll work it up. I'll get the rating 84 in just a heartbeat. So this guy, Scott, Tanya's husband, gets out of the car, and he walks up, and he's a farrier, so he can trim hooves. He walks up, and he takes a look at this donkey, and just as he's about to say, I've seen it all, he looks at those donkey's hooves, and he's like, oh, I've never seen this before. Now, his first thought was, I don't think we can save this animal. If a donkey can't walk, it can't survive. Right? They got to move in order to digest. If not, they colic quickly and almost irreversibly. The food in their digestive system turns to cement. It expands. It tears them apart from the inside out. It's an excruciating death, very hard to reverse. So Scott is looking at this donkey who's just frozen and dead-eyed, and what he's thinking is it's already happening. The reason why this creature isn't even trying to eat or move is because it's probably already impacted and it's probably dying before our eyes. I thought we could agree we all turn our phones off. Yeah. So then Scott, faced with this dilemma, this life or death decision, he says, do you have a hacksaw? So I got a hacksaw. I get him a hacksaw, and this guy gets on his hands and knees right behind an animal that could kick his head off. And for the next hour and a half, he is sawing through those hooves like he's cutting through firewood. And he's talking to the donkey the whole time. He's soothing it. He's crooning to it. He's trying to reassure it. And he is working away on a job that was not his problem. And after an hour and a half, he had gotten those hooves sawed down to the point where he could then take his clippers and his file and shape them into some kind of a form, or maybe, possibly, he could walk again. So he goes, this is the best I can do. at this point, maybe all we can do is make it comfortable. So he calls his wife Tanya, and comfort was Tanya's department. So then Tanya comes roaring up the driveway like 10 minutes later, and she is freaking hot, man. She is like a blazing ball of like anti-hoarder rage. She really loves animals a lot. And when she heard what this hoarder had done, she is steaming. So the whole time, she is now going into phase 2 of this recovery operation where she's like shampooing the donkey and cleaning out its eyes and checking its teeth. The whole time she's doing it, it's like a mom like scrubbing some kid who's got lice, you know? She's all like, I love you, but I'm really upset right now. And while she's doing this, she's like cleaning the donkey off, and she takes these big old clipper shears, and she's shearing off all that matted fur, like the dung and the straw stuck to its skin. And at one point she just stops, and she's like, you know, you're not just going to stick him out in the field. You understand that? If this donkey survives, you got to give him something to look forward to. You got to give him a job. And I was so intimidated by this woman. I was like, oh yeah, okay, sure, you got a job. But in the back of my mind, like, what job do I have for a donkey? You know, it's like, I'm not a prospector. I'm not moving like Oregon as a pioneer. I got no job for a donkey. But I did know one thing. About 10 years earlier, I had the worst experience of my life. I had a magazine assignment to go to Colorado to cover the World Championship Pack Burro race. Do you guys know about this race? How do you know about the World Championship Pack Burro race?
Leadville.
Have you run Leadville?
I've run Leadville.
You've done the Leadville 100?
The 50 in America.
Right on, man. Right on. You've run 50 miles at 12,000 feet. It's a high five to you. You should go swap a couple more books in. Get some more practice. That is badass. So, 50 miles at 12,000 feet. That's like stuffing someone's socks in your mouth and then telling you to sprint down the street. That's what that's like. That's hardcore. So you're familiar with the pack burro race. So the pack burro race actually gave birth to the 50-mile race. So it was the annual Boom Day pack burro race that eventually led to ultramarathoning throughout Colorado. This is an old miners' tradition dating back to the 1800s when dudes would like strike gold up in the mountains and then run to town to register their claims. And now you got a bunch of guys with gold in their pockets and donkeys outside, and they got nothing else to do. It's the 1800s. So they start to bet each other and race each other. And this gave birth to this whole pack burro racing tradition where you would run up to 29 miles through the mountains. And there's only 3 rules of pack burro racing. Okay, rule number 1 is you got to have a donkey. They're very firm about that. Rule number 2 is it's really got to be a donkey. It can't be a mule. It can't be, they actually have zebra, donkeys, half zebra, half donkey. You can't have one of those. You gotta have a donkey, and it's really gotta be a donkey. And number 3 is you can't ride the donkey. That's it. Otherwise, you grab a rope and you run next to your donkey for up to 29 miles at 12,000 feet up and over a mountain. So when Tanya is waving these clippers in my face, threatening me that you gotta get him a job, you gotta give him something to do, he needs a purpose. I'm kind of thinking, like, you know, maybe this race thing, you know? Like, I could run with him every day, train him. We'll see. Maybe we can do the World Championship Pack Burro race. So when I mustered the courage, I told this idea to Tanya. I said, look, I'm not going to walk a donkey in a circle every day. It's not going to happen. But I like to go running. Can I teach him how to run and be like my running partner? And maybe go do this race? And Tanya's like, that's actually not a stupid idea. It's less stupid than I expected. But she goes, but here's the situation. We don't know what this guy's got packed up in his brain. We don't know how he's been traumatized. We don't know what kind of physical condition he's in. His hooves may have been so damaged that either physically or psychologically, he may never put his foot on a hard surface. We got to find out. And she goes, now listen, there's 2 things you got to know about donkeys, which I think applies to lots of situations. Marianne, I think with your wisdom, you realize that what I'm about to say about donkeys probably applies to men as well. 2 things about donkeys. Number 1 is anything you want a donkey, aka a man, to do, you got to make him think it was his idea first. Number 2, anything you start with a donkey or a dude, you got to finish. You can't back off and quit, because if you do, that tells the donkey that, aha, he was right in the first place, it's probably dangerous, then they'll double down and never do it again. So those are the 2 rules Tanya told me. Anything you want him to do, you got to pretend it was his idea. And number 2, anything you start, you got to follow through and finish it to the bitter end, no matter what. So Tanya goes, let's find out. Let's just start today. Let's see if he will actually put his foot on a hard surface. So she was pretty innovative. The way she handled problem number one about making think it's his idea was, we have a goat named Lawrence. And Lawrence is probably as much of a DICK as Scott was, in a different fashion. Lawrence was extremely sociable. Lawrence loved to be around people. And so he was also an Oberhasli goat, which has really good jumper. So Lawrence, who wanted to be around people and could jump amazing heights, would just leap over the fence whenever he saw people. We have a 48-foot fence, and he would clear the 48-inch fence. He would clear that 48-inch fence without touching the thing. So when the kids would come in the morning for the school bus, Lawrence would see them over the fence and just jump over the fence and go play with the kids at the end of the driveway. And then the school bus would pull up and the door would open and there'd be more kids inside. So Lawrence would go walking in the school bus, which the school bus driver thought was hilarious, the first 14 times it happened. And he was just like, dude, tie up your goat. But just like Scott, who gets a hall pass from me for life for what he did with those hosts, Lawrence did the same thing. That first night Sherman was with us, traumatized, dead-eyed, all the other animals just ignored him and walked on, and Lawrence was walking up, circles him, sniffs him, and then lies down at his feet and doesn't move. Stays by Sherman's side. It's unbelievable, Jenna. Stays by his side and would not move until breakfast when he got hungry. Then he just took off. But when Lawrence went looking for hay, Sherman began to follow him. It was the first time he started to move. So he goes trudging along behind this goat, and the rest of the day, wherever Lawrence went, Sherman would follow. So now here's Tanya thinking, we got to find out if this animal can ever walk on a hard surface. Let's get that goat, we'll lead the goat down to the road, and maybe Sherman will watch him follow him onto the road. So Lawrence comes down, Lawrence goes into the road, no problem. Sherman walks down, he's following him, it's awesome, we got this thing licked, until Sherman gets to the edge of the grass and just stops dead. And Tanya has a rope on his halter and gives a pull, and Sherman's like, no, I don't want to do that. So Tanya said, okay, this is the rule, man. Anything you start, you got to finish. So Tanya takes the rope, and she plays out 12 feet of rope. She's back here. And she takes the rope, and she sits back on it under her butt, like she's like a marlin fisherman. So she sits back and puts her full body weight on this rope. And Sherman just looks at her and is like, dude, I'm a donkey. Come on. Better pack a fucking lunch, man. I'm not going anywhere. So he goes into full donkey mode, squatted down. Donkeys have evolved for hundreds of thousands of years for just this situation. So Sherman's hunkered down. Tanya's leaning back. The rope is taut. At that moment, the most stubborn creature in America and Sherman were locked in this tug of war. And dude, Jenna, you would love this. Tanya is you, man. She is you. So she's sitting back there in the middle of the road, and we look at a lot of traffic, but the cars are come by pretty hot. And these young dudes in pickup trucks are whipping around that curve. And Tanya's like, I'm not moving, man. You better go around me. And these trucks are wheeling around her. She's waving at them and just sitting back 40 minutes. I went inside, I caught an episode of Breaking Bad. I had a grilled cheese and a nap. And you're still here? She's sitting on this rope, and Sherman is like, damn, this is good. I'm getting stretched. After 40 minutes, Sherman finally puts a hoof on the asphalt. And Tanya goes, that's it, we did it. Always end on a good note. And she stands up and she gives him a good scratching and feeds him some horse treats, and she turns him loose with Lawrence, and he goes off happily. And she stands up, she's wiping the sweat off her face, and she says, there you go. See that? That's the power of a second chance. And I'm inspired. You're right. He's getting a second chance. She's like, I'm not talking about him. I'm talking about you. There's no reason why this animal should ever trust a human again. Humans have made his life miserable. He's giving you a second chance. And you better not mess it up. I always get weepy when I get to this part. Because it's the first time it really sank in. This is not a hobby or a pet or a toy. This is a living animal that is used to thinking for itself. But now it's in a really bad predicament. Because what its body is telling it is, don't move, don't try this. And if he's going to survive, you've got to override that instinct to just stand there. You've got to persuade him that he's got to move. He's got to run. He's got to run every day and get stronger and healthier. Otherwise, he's not going to make it. So what she's telling me is he's giving you a second chance, you know? Ugh, talking about a donkey. I thought my own family don't get this emotional. And that's where this whole thing began. And it began to spiral very quickly. You start with one donkey, and you have this moral imperative, like you have to save its life by persuading it that it can trust you to go on the pavement and on the gravel road and up into the hills. But I don't know how to do this. Like, I don't know how to train animals. I don't know how to do this kind of thing. That's how I meet people like Jenna, who's been an expert. She's taken a wild hawk out of a tree and training it to fly off through the sky and kill a rabbit for her. Like, how do you do that? I met a woman named Timmy Ann up in Michigan who was 19 years old and persuaded her mother, but not her father, that she wanted to buy a zebra, and talked her mother into driving from Michigan to North Carolina behind the father's back to buy it, 19 years old, to buy a zebra and then bring it all the way back to Michigan. And she's now in her 30s and she's been breeding zebras and training them ever since. So I started to learn from people like that how to form these kind of partnerships. But what I really learned is Tanya's first rule, you got to make them think it's their idea. And what we learned about donkeys is they're herd animals. They don't want to be by themselves. So we ended up doubling down and tripling down. Before I knew it, I had 3 donkeys. And my poor wife, who never signed on for any of this shit in the first place, you know? She's a hula dancer from Hawaii who only expected to be in Pennsylvania for 1 year. And 20 years later, I'm handing her a rope and saying, look, I got you a donkey of your own. And my friend Zeke here, who took time away from Penn State, and ended up as part of this weird herd as well. And not only was he part of the herd, we ended up with 3 donkeys, and out of the 3 donkeys, Zeke ended up with like the runt and the worst of the litter. Like, he ended up with Sherman, the original stray that was there. I don't know how I got the turnkey donkey. Flower was easy. My wife got Matilda. And somehow Zeke, who again never signed on for his operation, found himself every morning at our house, clicking on to that donkey Sherman. And then together, the 6 of us formed this bizarre little herd. A hula dancer, a 57-year-old dude who hadn't trained for racing 10 years, a kid who should be busy solving, I guess, nanotechnology and Martian brains or whatever it is you're working on. Ask Zeke what he majors in, and I guarantee you will not understand a word of the answer. But the 6 of us got together, 3 donkeys and 3 people, and that became our goal, was to try to find that partnership, that teamwork, and try to tap into the kind of stuff that Jenna does, of reminding ourselves that this idea that we're like the superior mammals on the planet isn't necessarily true. There was a period where we so revered animals and depended on them that we would name religions after animals. We named our children after animals. We knew that there were things that they could do and understood that were vastly superior to what we could do. To the point where now, anybody here have a cat? You have a cat, right? And you pet the cat, and it purrs. I think you're already smiling, right? And it feels really good, right? It makes you feel peaceful and happy. Well, there's a reason for that. It's because a long time ago, 100,000 years ago, if there were a feral cat that you could tame and became your partner, and at night, if that creature was purring, that told you that an animal with much better olfactory sense than you, much better night vision, far more acute hearing, had scanned the perimeter and decided there's no threat out there. So when that cat purrs, it's telling you that a creature with far superior senses than you have is at peace, which means you can be at peace. And that's hardwired into our nervous system. That is an ancestral tug we still have today. Except we try to pretend we don't need it anymore. You know, we try to pretend we've outsmarted Mother Nature. But that was the kind of partnership that I was trying to tap into, and I was trying to carry through on that idea that Tanya first gave me was, this is the power of a second chance. Not just for us in Sherman, but for all of us, you know, to remind ourselves that there's a big universal Mother Nature pull out there that might just give us a second chance if we appreciate it and do something right with it. All right? There's your inspirational message for a Sunday afternoon. So thank you very much, everybody, for your attention. Super Dave. Thank you. For those of you who are coming in late, you probably missed this part of the operation. And don't head for the door now, dude. I got you. Don't turn your back. I'm going to see you right there, buddy. So Mary Ann can show you that in the back of certain copies of Running with Sherman, there is a cool tattoo. And if your copy of the book has that tattoo, you're not just going home with a book. You're going home with a prize. Maybe a t-shirt, maybe one of those books with Girl Trouble, and maybe the picture of Sherman Pop. So if you guys have one of those prizes, why don't you rock up on here first, claim your prizes, and the rest of you will just hang out and chill a little bit later on. All right, thanks guys, thanks a lot.
We're actually one of this.